Gonna get started here in a second. If you guys are catching this on the on our page and YouTube. Week 13, Tuesday evening quarterback. Getting ready to start here in a couple minutes. Alright, I'm still waiting on one more viewer here. I want to get going, and then, people miss some of it, so I like to get at least 2 viewers in here before I get going. But whoever's in here, can you hear me? Alright, I think we're going to get going here. I'll wait till the 2-minute mark. 30 seconds here, we'll get going. Just waiting for people to file on in. Alright, how is it going out there? Week 13 is in the books, Arena Football League. If you have seen some of the rumors, I'm not going to go over those. There's no point. This is a football channel. We're going to go over what happens on the field and stuff related to the game of football. That other stuff, if it gets substantiated, it'll be brought up. But for now, not bringing it up here. And we're just going to go over the games. So, actually, right before we go into the games, I just want to, again, bring up the stat sheet. So, I create that, of course, I created that a couple weeks ago, and I updated each week for the stats that go on. I got defensive stats up, I got kicking stats up, quarterback stats, skill position stats, receiving, rushing, kick returns, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in having that, check out our Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/AFL Fanzone. I'm going to post it in there. Right now it's just it's going to be a link. Again, I mentioned it before. My off-season project is trying to get this on a website to make it a little bit more accessible for those that don't have an Excel or some kind of spreadsheet editor or viewer. But that's it. So again, if you want to check out the stat sheet, make sure you head on over to facebook.com/AFL Fanzone. Alright, let's get right into it. Week 13, AFL started on Friday. Emotional game there in Orlando, of course. That was the first home game since the shooting there at the nightclub. Orlando put on a show. I mean, yes, they played Tampa Bay. Yes, Tampa Bay seems they've kind of quit on the season so far, but hey, you still got to play the games. You still got to go out there and play. So Orlando took care of business. Of course, they won 56-33 at home in front of a pretty decent crowd there in Orlando. It's really hard to tell whether Bernard Morris, obviously he played well, but it was against Tampa, like I said before. It's hard to really get a gauge on how he's going to be. I want to see him against a little bit better of a defense. He seemed pretty pedestrian his first start against LA a few weeks ago. I won't say he played bad. He wasn't great. I still want to see how he does, because obviously he's going to be the quarterback going into the playoffs. Randy Hibbert's out for the season. In case you missed that, he is on IR. Knee injury from that gruesome hit that he took the week before. Tampa Bay, I mean, there's not much to say. It seems like they've kind of put everything in the tank since they beat Arizona. Jason Boltis has struggled ever since then. They tried to shake up the receiver core, didn't really help. Granted, it was in Orlando with the emotion and everything going on, but still, it still looked like the same old Tampa Bay. I mean, they scored 33 points. I mean, we're almost to that point where we're back to them struggling to score 30 points. Hopefully, they pick it up when the postseason starts, but as of right now, they seem to just be going through the motions. So. For Tampa Bay fans, I hope for your sake that they pick it up and they start to play better, but it's looking bad right now. But that was your Friday night game again. Orlando's 56, Tampa Bay 33. Then Saturday was the game of the week, AFL Fans of Game of the Week, and it definitely did not disappoint. It basically went kind of how I thought it was going to go. Damn, it looks kind of hard for a quarterback. Yeah, before we go into that one, Brian, yeah, I think Tampa Bay definitely needs to go into complete rebuild mode. Lawrence Samuels, as great as he was as a player, isn't exactly the head coach that Tampa Bay needs, of course. I don't know if it's a motivation problem. I don't know if it's an X's and O's thing. They brought in Tony Dungy during the week to try to motivate him. It didn't seem to really work, so I don't know what's next. They need to find maybe an up-and-comer guy. Is this Matt Salk over there in Orlando? He looked like he was going to get a starting or a head coaching job finally with Portland, and then they got pulled. They got the plug pulled. So maybe it's his time. Maybe that's the guy that finally gets a head coaching job. I mean, he doesn't have to go far. He's already there in Florida. Maybe he can take Bernard Morris with him and give Morris finally a chance to start in this league. I guess we'll see in the offseason, but obviously you got to roll with what you got now. Jason Boltis is the best you're going to have this season. Again, Saturday night was the AFL Fan Zone Game of the Week. Didn't disappoint. In Jacksonville, Cleveland pulled it off again in the last second. That's twice now. They've won both games against Jacksonville. Both times they won by 1 point. So, of course, this time it was Tommy Grady fumbling at the 2-yard line with 5 seconds to go or something like that. So I kind of had the feeling. I think Cleveland was down 13 going into the fourth quarter, but I was telling people here, I said, hey, the game ain't over. Jacksonville, for whatever reason, they outscored their opponents the first, second, and third quarters, but they just struggle in the fourth quarter. They cannot finish games, and especially at home. They were 1-4 going into this game at home. They lost, obviously, last second again. The coach sat Tiger Jones, from what we can tell. So I don't know what's going on there in Jacksonville. I don't know if the players have quit. There's no reason that Cleveland should have gone in there and won that game. Cleveland basically waited out Jacksonville. They didn't do anything special in the fourth quarter that they weren't doing in the third. Arvell Nelson's obviously, he's continuing to develop, and he's playing a lot better than he was earlier in the season. If you check out his stats, a lot of them are skewed to how he played at the beginning, but he's been pretty dominant the last 5 games or so. But either way, Cleveland should not have gone down to Jacksonville and beat them, especially the way they beat them. That's the kind of mistake that you make when you are, a young, inexperienced team, on the road. Not an experienced team with an experienced quarterback at home. Even without the fumble, Cleveland should have never been able to get those 14 points there in the fourth quarter to go up by 1. Jacksonville has enough talent on that team to not make that happen. But it happened. Jacksonville's 5-7. Cleveland jumps to 7-6. And that basically takes Jacksonville out of the running for a home playoff game. Obviously, mathematically, they're still alive. Anything could happen. Cleveland still has 3 games, all on the road. Two are really tough. They got Philly next weekend, and then week 18 they got Arizona. So of course they're going to be underdogs in both of those ones. So of course Jacksonville has a chance to move up to the 4 spot, but as of right now, I just don't see that happening. They just don't seem to be gelling. It's never clicked like it did last year. They've had a couple games here where they play well, game there where they play well, things clicking, and then it's either that or it's, how it was Saturday where they just stop. I don't know what's going on. They just stopped playing in the fourth quarter. But Anyway, Cleveland wins that one 48-47. Sunday in LA. Arizona at Los Angeles. So this game starts out very rocky for Los Angeles. If you missed the game, Arizona went down, scored on the first drive, and on the first pass on LA's first possession, it goes right out of DJ Stevens' hands, gets picked off, returned for a touchdown. Within 3-4 minutes, it's 14-0 Arizona. We're thinking, oh, this is another Arizona-LA game. They're going to get blown out. And then Donovan Morgan basically takes the game over. He had 7 catches, 176 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, they don't get me wrong. They still struggled in the first half. Pete Thomas had his worst game as a starter for LA. But they were down 21 at the half. Third quarter rolls around, and they just completely flipped all the momentum. They outscored Arizona 27-6 or 27-7 in the third quarter. It was 50-49 headed into the fourth quarter. And realistically, that touchdown that they got in the third quarter, Fred Obi dropped a wide open interception. I mean, that could have. At that point is basically when it turned back into Arizona's favor. I mean, they came out, LA scored pretty quick, and then they got the ball back on an interception, scored again. Then they had Arizona went 3 and out or 4 and out, and LA scored again. So I mean, they had 3 touchdowns right back to back. And again, like I said, Fred Obi had the ball in his hands, dropped it. Arizona ended up going down, scoring a touchdown. Otherwise, it would have been, if LA would have scored, of course, LA would have had the lead going into the fourth quarter. But then the fourth quarter happened. LA went total Jacksonville, couldn't score at all in the fourth quarter. Got a horrendous officiating call. They called offensive pass interference, which I believe on Donovan Morgan. I'm guessing they thought it was a pick play, but the dude fell over his own feet. DJ Stevens was wide open on like a 4th and 30 in the end zone, touchdown. They call it back to me, it was a bogus call. They showed the replay. It didn't look like the guy got touched at all. Just looked like he fell over his own feet. Very next play, it's sort of the same kind of play. Stevens gets mugged, no call. Arizona goes down, scores. I mean, that pretty much, that was the end of the game. That made it, I think that was the, once they scored that one, that's what made it 64-49. And they ended up winning by 15. But either way, it was great to see LA come back after having such a bad second quarter, being able to go into the locker room, come back out. Omar Smith did some magic at halftime and really turned the game around in the third quarter. Pete's got to take care of the ball a little bit better. DJ Stevens, he struggled. I'm gonna put that that's mild, but he definitely struggled with Brandon Collins out. DJ Stevens was supposed to step up and play that role, and he just could not catch a cold. He caused the first interception that got returned for a touchdown, like I said, and in my opinion, he caused the interception, the last one, in the fourth quarter when the game was pretty much out of reach, but it was a deep pass. Pete could have put more, could have let him a little bit more, but either way, DJ never looked back, wasn't looking for the ball, and Kellum just basically waited for the ball and got the interception. But either way, DJ's got to play better. Pete's got to play better. It's nice to see Morgan play as well as he did. The defensive backfield played pretty well. I saw some people saying that the defense didn't play good. I don't know what game they were watching. They're playing Arizona. Arizona has the most points in the league, most touchdowns. Nick Davila is just killing it. I think he's got like 90 touchdowns so far. So they held Rod Windsor to no touchdowns. Only 2 games this year has Rod Windsor not scored a touchdown, and both of them were against LA. For whatever reason, LA's got him figured out. But then again, Maurice Purify, both games just took what Rod Windsor usually does, and he got all the scores for not all of them, but he definitely took the place of Rod Windsor in that game. But that puts LA at 5-7. Arizona stays in the race for the number 1 seed at 10-3 with Philadelphia. And Orlando, of course, at 11-2. But heading into Monday night game, so last night's game started at 10 p.m. Eastern time. I was able to catch like the first 3 quarters. Once it got out of hand in the fourth, I turned it off. But I mean, Portland was winning at the half. They were up by 3 at the half. I think it was 24-21 at halftime. Just unbelievable. I mean, Portland, as bad as they've been playing, they have done the opposite of what Tampa Bay has. Instead of, you know, rolling over and playing dead like Tampa seems to have been doing, Portland's risen to the occasion, and they've played pretty well the last few weeks. Granted, the final score looks bad. They were down. I think they lost by 21. But like I said, they had the lead at half. You know, of course, Philly went in and did a little soul searching and came out and destroyed Portland in the second half. But either way, you got to applaud what Coach James is able to do up there in Portland. Able to keep his guys motivated. They got Nick Truesdale back at receiver. That was pretty huge. Rashad Carter had a huge game. He had 3 touchdowns, I believe. I think he had all 3 touchdowns there in the first half. Yeah, Portland's not going to go anywhere this year, but they definitely got a good core going. Shane Austin's playing well if he could, hold off on the turnovers. Again, he had another turnover-plagued game. If he wasn't turning the ball over, that team would be a little bit better off. But then again, they're just shuffling through receivers like crazy with injuries and everything else that's going on there for Portland. But I still think Portland wins another one. They steal a game somewhere along the line. They still play LA. I think they played Tampa again. I think they've only played one. So yeah, they play Tampa again. So they're either going to beat Tampa or LA. Calling it right now. I think they finished the season at 2-14. But right now, Portland's 1-11. Philly is 10-3. Of course, like I said, they're tied with Arizona, and that was pretty much that was week 13. It was definitely an entertaining weekend. Even though the game was out of hand on Friday night, it was still a fun game to watch with the emotion that was going on in Orlando. He had the great game on Saturday night with Cleveland. The LA game, we thought it was going to be a blowout there in the first half, and they turned it around. And, of course, like I said, they were only down 1 going into the fourth, so that was a good game. And last night, having Portland be up at the half was pretty impressive. So starting last week, obviously I didn't do the video last week. Again, I apologize for that. I just wasn't able to get it done. So I was going to bring up last week that the AFL is starting to post playoff standings. So I'm going to start going over those instead of the normal standings like I've been doing. So let's take a look at that real quick. Let me pull it up. I got that. Where'd I got that? No, that's not it. Standings. There it is. All right. There we go. Postseason standings. All right. So, of course, you see here with the Stars, those are the teams that have clinched their division or clinched a home field playoff game. The X means that they lead the National Conference. That's Arizona, of course. Of course, Orlando leads the American Conference. But that's it right there. There's your playoff standings. So basically, you could draw a huge line right here. And you could draw a nice line right there. You got these 3 teams are all fighting for a spot. These 3 teams are all fighting for a spot. And then these 2 teams, of course, are fighting for the 7th seed. But looking at this, and looking at the schedule, I'll go over that in a little bit. But this is all within a game. They've all played each other. Orlando beat Arizona. Orlando beat Philly, I believe. Philly then turned around and beat Arizona. Arizona beat Philly. So all these 3 teams have been playing tough against each other. Cleveland lost to LA but beat Jacksonville twice. LA beat Jacksonville and Cleveland, so they're up. They're actually up. They hold a lot of power here since Cleveland still plays Jacksonville. So Cleveland's got 3 games. LA and Jacksonville still have 4, of course. So if LA goes 2-2 while beating Cleveland, and Cleveland loses those 2 tough games that they got, LA should jump into the 4th seed. Jacksonville, like I said before, almost has no chance to jump in the 4th. They have to beat LA and hope that Cleveland loses. Obviously, they have to lose all 3 of the rest of their games. If Cleveland wins 1 more game, then Jacksonville doesn't even have a chance to bump up. Because with Jacksonville having 4 more games, I take that back. Jacksonville could go 4-0 the rest of the way. Cleveland could go 0-3, and they could technically jump up. That would take a lot, of course. As it stands, Cleveland's 4 seed, LA's 5 seed. But this is pretty. This you got to look out for. See who gets the 1-2. Because remember, if you forget, the 2 seeds, the number 1 seed goes to the conference champion who has the better record, and then the number 2 seed goes to the other conference champion. So even say Orlando gets the number 1 seed, and then Philly actually has a better record than Arizona. Arizona would still jump Philly just because they have they win the national conference. So Philly could then drop to the 3 seed, and then of course it's by record the rest of the way. So if the playoffs were to be over today, Orlando would have the 1 seed going against Tampa, Arizona, Portland, Philly, Jacksonville, Cleveland, and LA. But that's your standings right there. Power rankings. Let me go over that real quick. But there you go. There's your playoff standings. Of course, everyone's on a bye next week, so there won't be any power rankings to go or standings for next week. But let's go over the power rankings real quick. So I got Philly number 1. Let's just throw that out there. Philly is number 1 at 10-3. I had them at number 1 last week. They didn't do anything to drop. Yes, they were losing the first half. You know, they were down at halftime, but they came out and blew out Portland in the second half. They don't deserve to drop for that. So they got they're number 1. Number 2 is Arizona. Arizona at 10-3. They've been playing a lot better. They got Jeremy Kellen back, Arkeith Brown back. Maurice Purify is finally being a big part of the offense. So Arizona is number 2. Had they gone in and completed that blowout against LA, they might have had a conversation to move up. I know that Arizona just beat Philly. I don't care. That really was a fluke game because of how many fluky play turnovers that happened in a short period of time that basically ended that game. So I'm not really giving a lot of weight to that one. So we'll see. They still play again. Actually, do they play again? Take that back. No, they don't. So it's all going to depend on everything else. So number 1 Philly, number 2 Arizona, number 3 is Orlando at 11-2. How do you put Orlando at number 3, having the best record in the league? Well, that's because of where they stand right now without Randy Hibbard. They aren't 11-2 without Randy Hibbard. Bernard Morris deserves a chance to start in this league, but I don't believe that he's a 11-win team or 11-win quarterback. So I have Orlando at number 3. Cleveland is number 4 at 7-6, of course. They're 2 games up, or a game and a half up on the Kiss, and 2.5 games up on Jacksonville. So Cleveland they have 3 more home games to finish the year, 2 tough ones, and then an even matchup with LA. So they're at number 4. Number 5 is the LA Kiss. I still have them above Jacksonville. Jacksonville, I'm sick of moving them up because every time I move them up, I move them right back down because they just can't seem to play consistent. So LA had a chance there to knock off Arizona in the fourth quarter, regardless of what anyone says. They were there. They had all the momentum. They just let it slip away. So LA is number 5, and then, of course, that puts Jacksonville at number 6. I will not move them up until they win a game. I don't care how badly LA loses. I'm sick of putting Jacksonville any higher. They don't deserve to be any higher. I mean, they beat Tampa Bay, Portland. I mean, who are their other 3 wins? They played well against Arizona. I don't know. They struggle against pretty much everyone. Whether it's a bad team or good team, they struggled. I know they've had a couple good games, but I'm not putting them up any higher. That might be part of the hype train there. Everyone thought they were going to be better than they are, so maybe that's why they're falling. But either way, they stay at number 6. 7-8. I mean, you got 2 1-11 teams. So how do you judge who's better? Basically on effort. Portland's trying. Tampa Bay doesn't seem to want to play. I don't know. I mean, obviously they got some players, but as a team, they've struggled. So, of course, I got Portland number 7, and Tampa Bay rounding out at number 8. All right, last but not least is the AFL Week 13 Players of the Week. Let's see here. Here we go. Players of the Week. Real quick. Oh, what happened? I clicked on something. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, Under Armour Offensive Player of the Week goes to Bernard Morris there in Orlando. 16 to 23, 131 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no picks. And he added 3 rushing touchdowns. So he accounted for 8 touchdowns. You know, you got to give him his due. Riddell Defensive Player of the Week goes to Jeremy Kellum. Of course, they beat the Kiss. He had 2 interceptions and played like the player that he was when he left last year. The J. Lewis Small Playmaker of the Week goes to Sean Kaliniamoku. I'm going to get it. By the end of the season, I'm going to get it. They call him SK. Receiver for Philly. Darius Reynolds, I forgot to bring this up. He didn't really play that well. Portland was able to really keep him at bay. But SK shined. He held in 9 catches for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. So there's your J. Lewis Small Playmaker of the Week. Cutter's Catch of the Week goes to Ryan McDaniel. He had a nice catch over the boards and for a 13-yard touchdown grab. The AFL Highlight of the Week goes to Colin Taylor for the Cleveland Gladiators. The catch itself really wasn't that impressive, but it was his 100th career touchdown. So congrats to Colin Taylor. You got the AFL Highlight of the Week, and congrats on 100 career receptions or touchdowns. All right. So I see there's no any questions. I'm going to try to keep this going. Obviously, this is going to be a trying time. July, I'm not going to be around much. So next week, everyone's on a bye this week for the 4th of July weekend. So there's going to be no AFL Fan Zone preview of the week on Friday. No Tuesday evening quarterback next week, of course, because there's not going to be any games this weekend. The week after that, I will more than likely still be gone, so I don't believe that there's going to be a AFL Fan Zone or a Tuesday evening quarterback on the, I think that's the 12th of July. My apologies, but like I said, I'm moving this summer, so I'm trying to get this done, when I can. So, but I will let you guys know. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. You got it. AFL Fan Zone on Twitter, AFL Fan Zone on Facebook. You can follow me personally on Twitter. It's Arena FB Outsiders without the E. Follow all that. You'll be up to date with everything. You got player news. You got roster updates. You got the practice status report each day during, obviously, weeks that there's games going on. So if you're not following it, make sure you follow AFL Fan Zone everywhere. And make sure you check out the stat sheet. And that's it. That's pretty much it, everyone. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Hope you enjoyed the games. Have at least for me, I'm going to enjoy my weekend. It's going to be a lot less stressful than normal, but I will see you guys. I'll still try to put up a video next Friday for the preview of the week. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get that done, but I plan on it. So still look out for that. Just like I said, subscribe, like, share, do all that stuff, and you'll be updated. You'll know exactly what's going on. But that's it. I hope you guys have a good 4th of July weekend, and looking forward to next week. Take it easy.